going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video, and today is going to be a very special video. It is a collaboration on the channel, and we are going to be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to be talking about this past season, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the future. We're going to talk about next year. The collaboration that I'm doing is with Regiment and the Sports Girl. Now, both of these two are fantastic. They're both Leaf fans, so again, fantastic. I know a lot of people on here may not be Leaf fans, but if you're watching this video and you're not a Leafs fan, thank you very much for at least considering to hear a bunch of Leaf fans talk about the Leafs. But Regiment and the Sports Girl are both good friends of mine, both amazing channels here on YouTube. I'm going to provide their links in the description box and as the pinned comment down below. Make sure you go and subscribe to both of them. They're both great people. Like I said, great content. Regiment makes hockey content, of course, NHL video game content. You can go there, see the amazing stuff that he comes up with. He does streams as well, interactive streams, so you can go in there and sometimes he will create you in the NHL video game, put you on a team, and see if you guys can win the Stanley Cup. It's really cool. You gotta go check it out. He does really fun videos, and of course he talks about the Leafs. He does some card videos here and there. He's got some pretty sweet pulls that I'm very jealous of as of late. He will probably show them in the video. Hint, hint. I'm very jealous. Then we've got the Sports Girl, who covers Toronto sports. Again, really good content. She also does some game reviews sometimes. She did some for the playoffs this year. Some very funny content as well within those videos, which is also very, very cool. Just go there and check out all the videos that she does. She puts in a lot of time into the videos to make sure that she gets all the info correct, as you can tell in the videos. So make sure you go to both their channels, click subscribe, and now we're going to get into the Toronto Maple Leafs, a bit of their season review and a look into next year. And we split this up into 3 different parts. So I will go first covering the goaltending aspect of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then we've got Regiment with the offense. And then we've got the Sports Girl with defense. And I'm pretty sure that she didn't hurt my feelings too much when it came to Jake Gardiner. But again, you guys will see that. So let's get right into the goaltending. So starting off with the starting goaltender, Frederik Andersen. We all knew going into this season that he would be the starter for the future for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And rightfully so. He had a good playoffs last year. Maybe not the best, but he was very good for the Leafs, keeping them in every game. And this year, of course, he had a rough Game 7, but we'll get to that. Frederik Andersen has been real good, and I'm glad that he is the starter on this team. So like I always do, I've got stats in front of me. In 66 games played, he had 38 wins, 21 losses, and 5 OT losses with a 2.81 goals against average and a .918 save percentage. So pretty impressive numbers. Again, not like top in the NHL. There's a lot of great goaltenders out there, but he did his job for the Toronto Maple Leafs because the Leafs score a lot. They don't defend the best, but Freddie did a good job at making sure that the Leafs could put up goals and he would at least keep the game within reach and make sure that the Leafs always had a chance to win. The backup goaltender, Curtis McElhinney, great job for us this year. 18 games played, 11 wins, 5 losses, 1 OT loss with 2.15 goals against average and a .934 save percentage. So a very good backup option. You always want goalies that will get it done. And McElhinney had 3 shutouts. Pretty impressive for a backup. Freddie had 5. So you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But we got to get it deeper into the situation when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending, because this year, this next year could be different for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Is Curtis McElhinney going to stay with this team? Because he does have 1 more year on his deal. But there's another guy in the minors that may want to take his spot, and his name is Garrett Sparks. So even though McElhinney is a good backup, could we see Garrett Sparks come in as the backup next season? Is he ready for the NHL? And then you have Calvin Pickard, who will be a free agent. I believe he is a restricted free agent, but we will again look into the numbers here. Curtis McElhinney, it has 1 more year left on an $850,000 deal, so very, very affordable. And Frederik Andersen's on a $5 million deal until the 2021-22 season. So again, nothing too crazy. Pickard is an RFA. He's getting off of a $1 million deal. So if the Leafs feel like they want to re-sign him, keep him in the Marlies, I don't know, because he probably could be in the NHL as a pretty decent backup. We'll see what the Leafs want to do there. Kasimir Kaskisuo, depending on if the Marlies make a move, if there's a change there, he will probably be back in the backup role. Or if Sparks moves on and so does Pickard, he could become the starter for the Marlies. But again, getting back to Garrett Sparks, he has one more year left on his deal, and then he becomes an RFA at $675,000. So he could come up next year. He could battle to be the backup. But like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Are the Leafs willing to let go of Curtis McElhinney via trade, maybe package him up with something else for nothing too crazy? But, I mean, those numbers are pretty good for a backup goaltender. The Leafs seem to like having him in the net, but if Sparks is just making it too difficult, then one of them has to go. And I don't think Sparks wants to spend another year in the minors. I don't even know if the Leafs want to keep him another year with the Marlies. So it's a cool situation to have 4 goaltenders, and I guess you could even stretch it into 5. Kaskisuo, again, I could be saying that wrong. Kaskisuo, people say as well. I don't think he's really pushing for a spot on the Leafs side. I think he's kind of been underwhelming at some points, but he's at least a pretty decent goaltender. He will be in the minors for the long stretch. I don't think he really will ever have a spot on the team, which is kind of sad to say. But Pickard, again, probably won't end up on the Leafs. He could be traded or kept within the Marlies system. Sparks could be the backup, traded or kept as the starting goalie of the Marlies. McElhinney could be traded or stay as the backup goalie, which I would be totally fine with. But the mainstay is Frederik Andersen, and like I said, I wanted to get back to his playoff numbers that I said I was going to bring up real quick. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the picture for the goaltending situation for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because there are some decisions to be made when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So in the playoffs, it was really rough for both goalies, even though McElhinney only got into 1 game. We're not really going to talk about that because he was cold. You know, he came in relief. Those numbers don't really matter much. Frederik Andersen played in, obviously, all 7 games. He got yanked in one of those games, but 3 wins, 3 losses, a 3.76 goals against average, and a save percentage of .896, which is it's not good. It's not good, pardon my English, but just those numbers weren't great. He didn't have the best playoffs, and that Game 7 really burned him as well. I think that Frederik Andersen did all that he could this year. He was very good. He was in the Vezina conversation for quite a long time this year, and I can't really knock the guy. I really wanted to, but at the same time, I friggin' love the guy. I never want to put a player down, and especially the starting goaltender for the team. But I think that he will really rebound and have another great season for the Leafs next year. So we'll have to see if next year Frederik Andersen will rebound. I think he will. His regular season numbers were good, but let's see when they get back into the playoffs, which I'm pretty sure they will. Cross your fingers. But if he will rebound in the playoffs as well, we'll see if Curtis McElhinney will still be the backup. Will Pickard and Sparks move on? Will they be a part of the team? We will have to see. But for now, let's go over to Arcade Regiment with the forward group.
Oh, Mitchies, you look so beautiful. I love both of you. Mwah. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. My name is Producer Guy Phil. I, might be around in this channel. You might have seen me before. But if you don't, let me tell you who I am. So, I'm Producer Guy Phil. I have a channel called Arcade Regiment. I do EA Sports NHL videos. I make a whole bunch of teams. I talk a whole lot of hockey on there, using the video game as kind of like background, like a medium. It's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. But today, I'm actually very excited because I was approached by AP to join this wonderful collaboration with him and the Sports Girl to talk about a little Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Laughs as a lot of you call them. But guess what? The time for laughing, it's almost over, because with this forward core, ho ho ho, it's about to get real. So let's just get right into the fun of it. If you're a Leafs fan, ho ho ho, you have a lot to be excited about. Now, to call the Toronto Maple Leafs a powerhouse in terms of offense, that's maybe not too far off. I know some of you just chuckled there, but let me kind of explain. A thing I want to talk about kind of right in this section is balance. Okay, The Toronto Maple Leafs have one of the most balanced forward cores in the entire NHL. You see certain superstars who could put up 90 points, 80 points, even sometimes 100 points, but you see the gap between them and the teammates behind them, unless you're Kucherov and Stamkos, in which case, wow. But you see the gap between them and a lot of their teammates is like very, very huge. It's very wide. There's a huge margin. But with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the gap between the top scorer and even say like the 4th or 5th, it isn't honestly that much. Of course, the big three led the way this year with Mitch Marner with 69 points. Austin Matthews, despite only playing 62 games, had 63 points. And William Nylander actually had 61 points, tying his point total from last year. And these guys are also sophomores, don't forget. They're only going to grow, and they're only going to get better. Now, coming back to balance as well, there were a lot of players on this team who also put up 50 points. Apart from those three, JVR put up 50 points and had a 30-goal season. He's really going to earn that pay raise. Nazem Kadri is proving that he is on one of the most sweetheart deals in the entire NHL. Even if he makes boneheaded decisions sometimes, you can't deny that for $4.5 million and he's putting up 30 goals, was it 54 points? He is killing it right now. Another thing too is that the bottom 6 or maybe even like the top 9, there's decent scoring there as well. Zach Hyman put up 40 points, but you know what? The intangibles he offers to this team, honestly, I can make a whole video just defending Zach Hyman. I feel sometimes, he gets on my nerves. I feel he may have hands of stone, but you gotta admit, that kid is willing to dig. He's willing to be on the penalty kill. You can put him anywhere. Connor Brown is the same way. He played on the 4th line for a lot of this year until getting moved up to JVR with Bozak, and then he put up some serious points as well. One thing I cannot overlook was Patrick Marleau. I am always sketchy of big kind of long distancey kind of like contracts, like 3 years for this team. Like I was like, uh-oh, he's 35 plus. Over $6 million, that's a lot of money. But he put up 47 points this year. And you know what? He was a great leader on this team. His playoff experience also proved valuable as well for forcing a Game 7. But that's neither here nor there. He honestly offered some stability and basically made the top 3 lines just a nightmare. But speaking of which, the nightmare didn't end there. I want to talk about the 4th line. Now, the 4th line kind of had a carousel of centers for a bit. First, it was Dominic Moore, then it was Eric Fehr, and then Freddie Gauthier was there for a spell. And then also Thomas Plekanec was there as well. But if you look at the wings were kind of consistent for the start. There was Connor Brown and Matt Martin. But it really got interesting around the holidays, because that's when Kasperi Kapanen was inserted right into the lineup. And I am honestly so happy that he got his chance, because he has proved that with his speed, he can create chances, he can score some points, and he can just be lethal. He's lethal at 5-on-5, he is lethal on the penalty kill. Basically, when Kasperi Kapanen is on the ice, you gotta watch out for him. I also want to quickly touch on Andreas Johnsson. For getting called up, he only played 9 games, but he also put up 3 points in those 9 games. That's really impressive for a guy who was a 7th-round pick, had undiagnosed asthma, spent some time in the Marlies, took a brutal hit in the Calder Cup playoffs, and still worked his way back up to make the team and to still put up some points. And hey, let's not forget his first goal and his celebration. That was an absolute beauty. A quick little thing I want to touch on as well is, let's be real here, the Leafs are going to have some decisions when it comes to forwards next year. Are they going to re-sign Tyler Bozak? Are they going to even try to throw an offer at James Van Riemsdyk? Is Leo Komarov going to come back at a pay cut? Another question as well is, do they offer Mitch and Austin contracts? They don't have to, but they do have to offer William Nylander one. So that's going to be interesting what he does. Personally, I think he could do a bridge deal. You never know. I think he would honestly be better on a bridge deal. But speaking of the big 3, they actually did a lot of good stuff this year as well. Did you know that the big 3 actually led the Leafs in takeaways? That's right, with Mitch Marner leading the team himself with takeaways. So basically, when the big 3 is on the ice, when any one of them is on the ice, you better be careful, because they will be coming after you and coming after you hard. And they are only, what, 21 and like 20 years old? Babs would say there's pain coming. Oh, there's a lot of pain coming. All in all, offensively, this has just been one of the best Leafs teams I have seen in a long, long time. I'm going to touch on it again. They were very balanced in terms of scoring. And when you have a team that is very balanced in scoring, it's very, very hard to defend against them. You can put your 1-2 guys against Matthews. Cool. What are you going to do when Marner's on the ice? You can put your 1-2 guys against Marner. Well, guess what? You're leaving Matthews wide open. Oh, what's that? You put your 1-2 on Matthews and you put your 3-4 on Marner? oh no, now you got to deal with Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Johnsson just skating circles around you. All in all, this team is very young in terms of a lot of their prospects, but they have some good veteran leadership. Now, in terms of just next year, I just want to kind of peek a little bit to next year. Kapanen's coming back. Johnsson's coming back. Does Carl Grundstrom crack the lineup? Hey, does Miro Waltonen get a call? Maybe. But the Leafs team this year, they set records. They put up a lot of points. He scored a lot of goals, and all in all, it was one of the most consistent things throughout the entire year was the fact that the Leafs had one of the most potent offenses in the entire NHL. They were a nightmare to deal with, but they were so fun to watch, and that's why I got to give the offense a B. You know what? They were all B for balance. They all put up a nice amount of points. Each of them, I saw some nice solid growth, and you know what? Maybe next year, if a couple of them can, if Marner can put up 70 points, if Matthews can even stay at a point a game, maybe hit 82, 85, if Nylander can even put up more than 61, this team, they could truly be something. But for now, I got to give the Leafs offense a grade B. Just want to give a quick thank you again to AP, Andrew Piluk. Thank you so much for having me on this video, dude. It was so nice to get to collab with you and also get to collab with the Sports Girl, two of my favorite hockey channels, and actually two of my favorite Leaf-centric channels. So it was really cool to do a video with you guys, and I hope we get to do some more. Hey, when it comes to Leafs, you better watch out, because pain's coming, and it's coming right now. Be careful.
Fantastic job by Arcade Regiment. Now let's go over to the Sports Girl for the defensive side of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Hey guys, the Sports Girl here, and if you don't already know me, and let's be real, you most likely don't, I've been making sports videos for about a year now, mainly focusing on the Leafs, obviously, but I also make videos about the Raptors and the Jays and just sports in general. And obviously I want to say a big thank you to Andy for setting up this collaboration. If you guys like this video, seriously, comment down below and let us know. So Andy asked me and producer guy Phil which topics we'd like to talk about. And knowing me, I like to complain about things, so I obviously had to pick defense. It's something I complain about every day, so I just thought, you know, bundle that all up into a video. With that being said, we can get into it. First, let me start off by saying that I consider this past season a success. I know there are a lot of people that are disappointed, but hear me out. You don't just decide to rebuild one year and then the next year you're all of a sudden a Stanley Cup winning team, unless you're Vegas, and then that might be the case, and then you just need to throw out everything you know about hockey and life and logic in general. Now, we obviously did not get very far in the playoffs, but the good news is that despite our defense being arguably our weakest link, we still managed to break a lot of franchise records this year. You know, just stupid little records for this season, like the most wins in franchise history, the most points in a season in franchise history, the most wins in a season by a goaltender, you know, just stupid little things like that. We have Jake Gardiner and Morgan Rielly, the first two defensemen in a long time to have 50 or more points in a season, which is huge. And while I don't like Jake Gardiner, I can admit that he's had a good season, at least when it comes to points. Now, as for next year, I will propose that we move Jake Gardiner to a lower pairing. If you're not going to move him down a pairing, I would, at the very least, stop relying on him as much as Babcock does. I think he plays way too many minutes as it is, and okay, here's the thing. He's a risky defenseman, right? He's a risk taker, which a lot of people like, which is why you need a stay-at-home defenseman to pair with him just to balance it out a little bit. This past season, Zaitsev was Gardiner's partner, and I don't like Gardiner. Even I can cut him slack for having to play with that. In my eyes, Zaitsev was absolute trash this year. Plain and simple, I wanted to cry when he was on the ice, and not because he was like this horrible, horrible guy who's not deserving to play in the NHL, but because of the hopes I'd had for him at the beginning of the season. And listen, I find that more often than not, I have a problem with the placement of the player than the player himself. Sometimes moving the player does fix the problem, and I totally believe that, but to move Zaitsev down to the third pair would be stupid because we're paying him to be a top 4 guy. And in case you forgot, he signed for 7 years with us, so 6 more years of him playing like this, I don't think I can take that. It could be that he just had an off year this year because yes, he was injured for a bit, and yes, he did have an illness, but so did a lot of other guys, and they came back and they weren't that bad. And I'm not being mean, okay? Players who played with him versus without him played so much better without him. We saw it when he was paired with Rielly last year, and then we saw it again this season, so I hope we don't make the same mistakes again next year. Because seriously, if he's not getting paired with those two, then he's going to be a bottom defenseman getting paid $4.5 million a year to do what? He was pretty good in the KHL, and I guess he's been struggling in the NHL, and he is definitely not getting any younger. Speaking of players who are not getting any younger, Roman Polak. I'd go as far as saying that he shouldn't even have been on the team this year. He's a UFA come July 1st, and thank God, I cannot even wait for that day. Why Babcock likes him, I don't know. I've heard he's gritty, I've heard he's tough, I've heard he's slow, I've heard he doesn't score, I heard he's just like I don't want to say pylon, because that's reserved for FNUF, but I think he is someone that every Leaf fan can agree on that they don't want on their team. Except for Babcock, of course. It's weird because I usually trust Babcock's judgment, but hey, everyone makes mistakes. And I mean, you can argue that we needed his toughness or whatever you want to call it, but for the amount of games that he played, was he really that much of a force? Like, our guys still got tossed around. Assuming Jake Gardiner, Morgan Riley, Ron Hainsey, Travis Dermott, and Nikita Zaitsev come back next year, we have a spot up for grabs. The question is, do we fill that spot with a Marley or do we trade for it? Just based off what I know now, I can definitely see the Leafs starting with Justin Holl in that spot. Maybe he could play a few preseason games and then a few regular season games, and we'll see where that goes. Obviously, good defensemen don't come cheap, so they will definitely have to work on that if they're not going to use a Marley to replace him. But all I'm saying is the Marlies are just getting better and they're just getting stronger. I mean, in fact, this year, they're going to the third round of the playoffs right now. I don't think that puts us in a position where we have to do something stupid in the offseason to try and get these defensemen. I think with the talent that we have, we really don't need to. Liljegren is a year or two away from being called up, but we have so many other good players, and not just defensemen, like good players, forwards, goalies. It's really promising. For defense, our right side is still really, really bad, but that doesn't mean we have to break the bank to get a good player. Overall, I think this year has definitely had its ups and its downs, but I think that we have grown and we've learned a lot, and this experience it's what you need to make a Stanley Cup contending team. It's something that you can't learn on your own. Like, you have to go through this stuff. So we have more experience going into the next year, and that stands for the Leafs and the Marlies, which of course just makes the Leafs better. So now you take that knowledge and you put it in here and you improve. And whether you're a diehard fan or not, I'm pretty sure you can tell that the best is yet to come. So that's my piece. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and thanks again for including me in this collaboration.
Great job by Arcade Regiment and the Sports Girl. Thank you guys very much for being a part of this video. Again, if you want to go subscribe to them, they have great content. Links are in the description and as the pinned comment. I'll be posting this on Twitter, Facebook. You guys can catch this video anywhere. Hopefully, if you're watching this, thank you very much for staying this long into the video. It is quite a long video, but again, thank you guys so much. Subscribe to those guys. Subscribe to me if you're new. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Almost at 2,000 subscribers depending on when you're watching this. Hopefully, maybe down the line I've already hit 2K, but that's besides the point. Thank you guys again. I'll see you guys in the next video stream. Peace.